Oh yeah, because, well, the little gifts that I got in the video were forgotten to be included here. Well, they will be shown at the end of the video. Like, the very end. Just as a nice little bonus after watching the video. So yeah. Sonic AlphaoMega. Not much is known about this ROM hack, but it's a ROM hack by HCKTrox. Yeah, let's just nickname the creator as just Trox. Basically, this was a ROM hack, and it's obviously a Sonic 1 ROM hack, everyone knows. But well, I did a brochure version comparison series some time ago, and it was in the same year as of the time I recorded this video. But also, what's cool is that I've even yesterday, as of the time I made this, it turns out it was actually my birthday. Yep. Which means that I was going absolutely crazy every day. No, that's not it. Oh, chessing TH game. Well, anyways. Alright, so it turns out Conquer Day is the options menu, but it's exactly based on the one from the earlier versions of Sonic 1, the harder levels, which was revamped into Sonic and Mystic Gems, starting with the Hacking Contest 2019 version of that respective pack. We're focusing on basically AlphaoMega's 4 builds here. So let's start with Green Hill Zone Act 1. You would normally be taken to a different level the other way around. But well, let's talk about that other levels after the other levels are done, right? So here we are with Green Hill Zone Act 1, which would eventually be named Angel Hill in the later builds. We got Sonic Spin Dash, and also Windy is an exclusive character in AlphaoMega, but he was not playable until the possible current release. So Angel Hill, well, since all 4 builds are extremely unfinished, with the S4 one being the most unfinished, obviously, we're already in the first build over here, and well, they exist. So Green Hill Act 1, heavily unfinished. But basically, there are more levels. And also, I'm not showing the Conquer version or the options menu in English, because, well, obviously it turns out the game style is actually, because the game mode style actually contains an S-bomb. So it turns out I'm not showcasing the options menu. But here we are, Marble Zone. And it's basically just marbles. Oh yeah, and instead of the rings being just... Oh yeah, and instead of the rings... Oh yeah, and instead of the rings being just normal rings, they're instead diamonds in this hack. Which is actually pretty cool. Because the Sonic hack would never ever try to do that kind of thing. Now, it turns out only Green Hill, well, Angel Island and later builds, and Spring Yard ever got changes. So let's go to Spring Yard next. And it turns out the Spring Yard that you would see in later builds, the normal alpha, not the pro one. Actually, this was the first build to ever use this level. The scrolling for this level is not correct. But also, there is a glitched mess at the bottom of the screen when you activate debug mode. But, well, I don't need to disable the widescreen effect, because I'm using Genesis plus GX wide for this. And I'm too lazy to disable the the 16:9 features. So the spring yard level is heavily unfinished, which remains the same in the next two builds. I mean, in the next three builds, excluding the S4 one. But those are all the changes that exist in the first Pro Alpha. But also, there's shopping zone. And in this build, you have simply a maroon background. And you basically this level, this basic shop level is actually in this version. It's so unique that this hack is not really well known. Because had this hack been more well known, maybe it would have gotten a chance to being fully finished and such. But well, it's a thing. Oh yeah, and you have a corrupted mess for shopping zone, because it turns out this level is actually marbles. You can definitely tell by the objects used here. But that's also that this build contains. So obviously, let's move on to the next build. Where is it? Okay, here is 1.0 alpha. Selecting or selección idioma. Basically, you cannot select the language, only the English one exists here. So anyways, let's get started. The warning text of that this is unofficial. Oh, HCKTrox. Yeah, let's just keep the simplified Trox name. The options menu. Basically, the options menu is basically non-existent. The options menu is basically non-existent. And we have an extremely simple tile screen here. And we got the level select, the exact same from the previous build, except all three Starlight acts and Clockwork Act 3 are crossed out because they are completely unedited. But Act 3 is completely a mess. So in the meantime, no final zone that hasn't been worked on yet. Now, here we are, now with a new enhanced tile card and the proper name for the first zone of Angel Hill. And now we got more Bannocs ready to journey out. And now we have a brand new HUD in the Knuckles Chaotix font. Still no Windy the Hedgehog though. We got the dollar sign and collectibles. Don't know what they're used for, but maybe they would be used to just get lots of rings. But also, there is another way to go through the level that you cannot go through the normal way unless you have the. And it's this section. Let's just get that extra life. Do not hit that egg anymore. And then this level is also heavily unfinished, and the music is absent now. This zone is still unfinished. Now, Labyrinth has its proper music, in which the same music was also in the Pro Alpha 1 build. But nope, the level was not changed at all there in that previous build. And only the music I got to change. And here's Labyrinth with a simplified ice cap remix. And you also now have a straight tile and a new background. But unfortunately, that's all that ever got worked in this build. Marble Zone now has a new palette, and also the lava, unlike the most recent build, which I'm also gonna say possibly because yes, the same music from Labyrinth plays here. So anyways, Starlight, obviously all 3 acts are crossed out because, yep, no edits. Clockwork, or Scrap Brain as shown in the title card, basically does not load at all. Yes, instead of going the browser version comparison way and having this series to 5 parts, instead, I'm actually gonna do all of these versions all in one video. The only Clockwork / Scrap Brain act to ever load is Act 3. This is because the data for this zone, except Act 3, does not exist. The final zone is based on Scrap Brain code, so it does not exist either. Now, Sparkling Zone or Spring Yard. Now, what you're seeing is now. Now, Sparkling Zone or Spring Yard has now been updated slightly. Now with a new kind of background parallax. Again, that's the only change made. And in fact, due to the new water parallax, it turns out that the little character that appears in the water of the background doesn't have its proper scrolling thingamajig done yet. Topic Hat Red. Alright then. Now special stages exist. Unfortunately, the shopping zone was absent. Unfortunately, the shopping zone is absent in this build, but it will later appear in the most recent build, possibly. Yes, I'm gonna keep saying possibly every time I mention the latest release. Because yes. Alright. Trapped inside. Maybe I should actually remove the CPU briefly. I absolutely love that PCM sample for Cities game. Yeah, this is pretty much part of SRG. And it's not retro. But, Sonic Stream is unfinished, but it exists. Sonic Team. The Retro Guide Productions. It might actually be Trox, or maybe this is not Trox's hat. But well, here we are, Sonic 4. This is basically considered AlphaoMega the 1.0 beta. If this is Trox's hack, then, well, maybe Trox briefly stopped making AlphaoMega just to make a Sonic 4 remake. And then maybe he regretted it early after, and then decided to go back to AlphaoMega. Special stage, we don't need to go there. Options. We cannot play it. The game just won't let us play. It's none other than Sonic Tails, and Tails is not even in this. Extended camera, I don't know if it exists, but whatever. It pretty much does. Alright. Start game. The only zone in this to ever get some changes is none other than the first zone, Splash Shell, which is basically just Green Hill, but with no changes other than the start of the level design. Only the first half ever got level design changes. No object changes, however, almost. Which means that this is pretty much considered the worst Sonic 4 Remake for the Genesis. Also, I can pretty much confirm that, well, but I don't think it confirmed. But well, it turns out that the game will put out multiple constant address errors in the water of Lost Labyrinth. And it turns out that only happens with address errors turned on. I disabled the address errors for GXY. So don't worry, you will not see the address errors. So the only zone to ever get changes is Splash Hill Splash Hill, which is definitely just Green Hill. Act 1 has no changes other than start of the level design, with no object changes, almost. And Act 2 and 3 are basically just normal Green Hill Act 2 and 3, but worse, with a few, the zone now turned a bit purple, which is unique. Other than that, if this was Trox's hack, then maybe he temporarily stopped AlphaoMega's development just to make this one. And then maybe he regretted it after and decided to go back to Omega. I mean, AlphaoMega. But if this is not Trox's hack, then is this a leaked build? But well, otherwise, this playable, otherwise playable, at least if you know how to try and clear Special Act 1. Siluania Castle typo there. Other than the music, all the other zones, other than the music and the zone names, every other zone after a Splash Hill remains the same. Like, identical. There could be very minor palette changes, like the blackness of those behind those bars in the marble zone background, when in the under parts. But well, other than that, it's basically just Sonic 1 with a bit of Sonic 4 style attached to it. But well, we'll move on to the build. Here we are. The latest build. Possibly. Now we have a very simplistic but pretty nice looking tile screen. The logo is definitely something that's worth putting in a hack, but well, obviously, because it's an early build, we got debug mode. But well, let's not use it right now. We got main menu. It's very simplistic though. No competition mode, no miscellaneous features. There's an options feature, but it's basically just a song test. Start game. Now Wendy's is thing, but let's not focus on right now. Let's just focus on getting into the actual game. So Angel Hill Act 1. Now with a new Emerald Hill style background. And the level design has gone revamped. Special stage rings, they exist. You know what? I don't need these special stages. Well, that's Tritium stage to you, game. And you actually end up respawning in the same positions as the special stage rings that you just entered. Now, you go through here, and then do not go through this because it's basically a teleport that gets you soft locked stuck into the air. So basically Sonic is going to space once you hit. So in that case, let's try and fix it. So here we are back into proper position, and then we'll jump through here. We now have rings, the diamond rings. We have a bit of a mess over here, but that's actually Wind's route. That's actually Windy's route. Now here, what is that? Well, you might be wondering, what is this? Well, it turns out this was probably supposed to be a boss. But, well, it's more like a soft lock, like what Jeepsnade said. Because, well, obviously, it turns out that this is not just the normal object doing its normal thing with unfinished code so that it would only move left. But it turns out, this is actually due to something else. Let's enable debug features. We got new level selects here. Select the character, Sonic. Debug mode actually enables itself once you activate the level select. Now about the boss. It turns out it's still a tiny bit of the Emerald Island. Let's let a tiny bit of the Emerald Hill-like background be present here while this happens. And you can see this little mess. Well, what does that mean? This is actually due to the background. Yep, it's not a random ordinary unfinished object. This is actually the background. The background was actually the one handling the bad exploit. Because let's go to another act, say Act 2. Obviously in the same zone. Now pretty much, Act 2 has a tiny bit of heavily unfinished level design. And I accidentally got stuck. So using debug mode, let's go all the way to the section where the unfinished boss code could occur. And then you'll notice it transforms into the thing. So it turns out this is indeed the background. So it turns out this is indeed due to the background, not a random ordinary unfinished object. So now, let's go to the labyrinth. The ice cap music has now reverted back to the actual true original version. Now in the meantime, the Act 4 slots are invalid. But well, here we are at Marble Zone. It exists. Exactly identical. Now Starlight. It now has changes. It has a few messy aspects such as the little background that you're literally seeing right now. And the actual true background that actually has palette sizing. The problem is, its scrolling is not edited yet. Meaning that it is indeed a complete mess while you're running on endless field of the main casino night floor. Because the rest of the level is heavily unfinished. Now here we are, the sparkling level, Spring Yard. Now it has its kind of changes, nearly. Barely any changes exist here in this public. Why am I speaking Jewish? Now anyways, the background now has reverted back to the normal Spring Yard parallax style. And that's all the changes for it. The zone is heavily Turns out I accidentally hit the power button and I accidentally ended the video while making this. So yeah, sorry about that massive cut there. And the fact that you got to see a brief glimpse of my level screen. Now in the meantime, slot 5. Scrap rating exists. Well, technically. We have the same music in the same tiles in their normal type, but now we have a new original background that is very basic and can hurt your eyes due to the flickering of, well, this when I actually go to the right pixel. There. You see? That is what you see. Basically, you know, after all that, we see this line of text. I don't even know what it says. DEOX, a down arrow, probably. So in the meantime, let's just collect all those rings that probably form a little text for something. And then you cannot go down here. Use debug. And then you can continue onwards. And then eventually, once you get here, an up arrow. What does this mean? The camera will start shifting up. And if you don't want to die due to the shifting camera, use debug. And then your eyes will hurt once more. Yep, your eyes will hurt once more due to these stupid flickering things. So yeah, sorry in advance if you're getting a seizure. And that's all that this little level brings. So in the meantime, wait, we're not going there yet. Welcome to Zone. Basically Green Hill, but this is basically heavily unfinished and it has not gone progress yet. So in the meantime, now we can go to the proper thing, shopping zone. Now with the improvement. Basically the camera shifts when you move through debug mode. So basically the background starts in this tile. So basically the background starts in this tile Tempest Good Future style. Which basically means that this shopping zone is still heavily unfinished, but got a bit more work done. And then the large special stage tiles, those exist, obviously. And then things go blank. And then things go back to normal. Basically control the camera. Now there's the second shopping zone, which isn't even a shopping zone. We also got Castlevania music for absolutely no reason. And the background interestingly changes from Chrome Gadget's background to Launch Base Act 1's. Pretty much, this zone was still heavily unfinished, but well, it would be pretty cool to see what it looked like had it gone fully patched up, polished, and finished. But well, what you see is what you see. This is obviously not my hack though, it's by Trox. It's by HCKTrox. And if Trox is still active in the Sonic community, then I'll just, well, tell him if he's still working on AlphaoMega. If he's no longer working on it, then that means he no longer cares about it. Now slots 09 up until 0F are all invalid and don't have existing level slots yet. Game modes exist. Now the game mode exist, at least. And at least if you go to game modes through the level select, and not through the normal, and not through the tile screen, you can actually see a scrolling background, which probably means that the background is going to be added at one point, but never successfully got added at one point. In the meantime, just show the tile screen one more time. This is a basic styles. And well, this is Sonic AlphaoMega version comparison. It's not really a version comparison, it just shows what kinds of zones exist in all 4 versions. But well, see you later. Now, it turns out that there's actually pretty much more stuff that exists. Some stuff including, prior to my birthday actually happening, I ended up getting a few things. I got this Sonic Movie 3 poster from All Posters, and yep, they did get licensed, I looked it up. This is a Sonic Movie 3 poster, you can definitely tell. Oh yeah, and yesterday I also got my own mix of jelly beans, because yes, lots of candy, yes, literally candy. For example, the Maynard Swedish berries. Oh yeah, and there's also the anti-stress Sonic squishy toy. It actually exists. There's also a couple more stuff that I would want when the certain day that I can happen would finally happen. So yeah,